Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well in your world. I want to talk a little bit about um, a video I had posted on another social media app, and I didn't quite realize how much controversy it may have caused. And it started at the Met Gala, and Jalen Hurts was, with his significant other, and I pointed out in observation that Jalen Hurts will show up at the Met Gala before he shows up to the White House or before he goes to AJ Brown's engagement party announcement. And people were coming at me about, people have schedules, blah, blah, blah. And, I understand once you become a Super Bowl champion, uh, certain things happen, you know, where you're just not able to move like you once did, especially when you're being paid a whopping 200 and let's say just round it up $256 million. Quarterback is the most highly heralded position in the NFL, which I don't know why, because we've seen several quarterbacks just do what they were supposed to and nothing more and won Super Bowls. In fact, it's very seldom do you see a quarterback who goes out and puts up extravagant numbers and wins it on some heroic behavior. Normally, it's being led by great defenses and a solid run game, solid if not miraculous run game. Um, the formula has never changed throughout time, despite the NFL changing the rules for the regular season. Postseason, playoffs. It boils down to the trenches, the battle of the trenches, and no matter how marvelous of a quarterback you might have. Tom Brady taught us that against the front seven of the phenomenal New York Giants. Justin Tuck, William Joseph, Michael Strahan, Todeo Pierce, Armstead, etc. Um, so, the Eagles, it was a crazy year last year. And if you told me it was going to end with a Super Bowl in the first, I don't know, 6, 7 games, I would have probably had offered, better alternatives to bet your money on. Um, just from the toxicity, Hertz is a guy who just does the bare minimum right now. He doesn't remind me of the guy who was being suppressed by Doug Peterson um, when Carson Wentz was over there. I was a full supporter. Let me begin that with that. I was a huge fan of Hurts when he first got to the league, and I think he got done really wrong by Doug Peterson, who was relieved of his duties this offseason with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But not to say that Doug hasn't done a lot of great things in the league, but every dog has his questionable decisions, just like a podcaster has some questionable takes. Uh, we're all human. But I'm beginning to be a bit concerned with Hurts and the way he's coming off. This isn't the guy who I supported his rookie year to who he is right now. When Hurts was beginning his ascension, this was the guy who would stay late, be the last to leave during practice, take all his linemen out to eat dinner. That's all we used to hear. Whining and dining his old linemen and, just the best teammate ever. And then they're like, well, let's go get his best friend, AJ Brown. I don't know I can't remember if it's from college or from growing up. And little by little, the fame gets bigger, the performances start to become more subpar. Just doing enough to squeak by, while Howie Roseman continues to stack linemen and talent from Georgia on that defensive side of the ball and acquiring Pro Bowl corners like Big Play Slay from the Lions. Because Philadelphia has, ever since I could remember, has always been a free agent hub. And just the biggest names in football always end up with the Eagles in free agency. A fan's dream, honestly. Not to mention, they've been so spoiled, even the years they didn't win with Donovan McNabb. I think Donovan McNabb is a top 10 quarterback all time, and he doesn't get any mention. You hear people talk more about Ben Roethlisberger, speaking of quarterbacks underwhelming in the Super Bowl. I'll never forget that '06 performance against the Legion of Doom. 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, 123 yards. And we're talking like he's the greatest of all time, not to mention the off the field stuff. I mean, I don't know how people have all this energy for the kicker and with the Ravens and Deshaun Watson and Michael Vick, but somehow we just turned a blind eye to. I don't get it. But or Harrison Bucher, the other kicker for the Chiefs, act like he was the worst thing ever for expressing his views on being a conservative. And that segues into my biggest problem. Deciding once he's seen what Saquon Barkley was chastised for, golfing with Trump on, Marcialao, whatever he was at, coming off the private jet. Like, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for something that might not necessarily be related to sports, but just, again, another teachable moment and another questionable moment in society where we got to do better. We don't even know what Saquon Barkley's political affiliation is, and we're calling him a sellout and all these other weird things. Society, not me, but society, after he just came off of a season that he was so justly owed after the unbelievable gross ineptness displayed by the New York Giants for years. And especially when they chose Eli Manning, as we just spoke about, great defenses and on all dime. Eli Manning sticking around too long, and ultimately they decided to part ways with Odell because Odell couldn't take it anymore, leaving Saquon with the aftermath and multiple coaches later. And speaking of multiple coaches later, the work the Eagles have done to find a coordinator and to find the right coaching staff to accommodate Jalen Hurts and try to find scapegoats to justify why they can't excel with A.J. Brown there, who made an absolute difference and was an absolute factor and was removed and relocated from the real franchise he belongs to, which is the Tennessee Titans. And to come here and to be limited, when I watched Kenny Pickett last season, he looked really good in that offense. That everything they were preaching, that offense, even if they scored 21, it was like a healthy, clean 21. Ball was being distributed. Big plays were made. Everyone was satisfied. The vibe and the energy was up. And now he's going to go into the dog house, also known as the dog pound in Cleveland, and be one of 5 quarterbacks waiting to get two possessions on the field before they get subbed out. For the same reason why Joe Milton got traded out of New England, because we don't want our starting quarterback to have any heat on us and when things get rough, because we know it's going to at some point. And so Saquon walks down the hill. Jalen Hurts at the top of the hill sees the noise and says, "Oh, I have other engagements. I won't be going to the White House visit," which was a visit that was supposed to make up for them not getting their visit in the White House during 2020 COVID year. Not quotations because of COVID, but COVID. I mean the White House slogan. To go see Trump, and this is where society has gotten crazy, and why the slogan, "We don't need any more millionaires. We need real humans." You call yourself a leader of the locker room. You think your brothers and your comrades agreed with everything what's going on right now? No, but they respect the tradition of this country that created this NFL. You know who's one of the number one sponsors of the NFL? Like, at least up until around the time the Kaepernick thing was going, was the military. They're one of the top sponsors of the NFL. The reason why you're able to get that contract that you got. Just because you show up doesn't mean you agree with everything that's going on, but that's a tradition that's been upheld for years, for ever since who can remember. Your comrades didn't want to. They don't have the kind of money you have to have security and protection for the backlash that might come from attending that visit. But at the end of the day, this is the country that made you wealthy, and your ancestors fought for you to be able to have the right to vote, regardless of whether you like the result, just to have the right to do so. And you choose to punt because you don't like the outcome, kind of missing the mark of the whole intention of the right to vote. And regardless of what the outcome is, whether you like it or not, you were at least able to attend. You're no hero for not showing up. That you don't get commended for dodging like some people are trying to pat him on the back for doing. Nothing can change if nothing changes. Everyone at that event doesn't agree with everything that's going on. Democrats don't agree with everything that Democrats do, Republicans. But at the end of the day, adults should be able to stand within the same room despite adverse belief systems and be cordial. It's never that serious. And I'll tell you what, the water got a little too muddy if you're not able to be able to do that as a grown adult. Because at the end of the day, our politicians are supposed to be servants of the masses, of the people. That even just saying that right now sounds crazy. Because we all know that's not what's being done right now. You know? And if everyone wants to keep doing tit for tat and going their own way, then guess what? That's how a demise of a country falls. That's how the demise begins. You know, at the end of the day, before anything, we're all human beings. And the fact that you as a leader could have used that as a teachable moment and really stood at the top of the mountain pack. But instead you chose to play the politics game and show up to the fashion shoot. That's the first time you want to see Saquon is at the Met Gala. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but this is definitely something that will be erased. And people say, "Oh, well, what if, what if he met with AJ after the event? He just couldn't be there at that time." It doesn't matter. It's an optics standpoint. Before anything, your obligation is to who's paying you. That's what comes with signing on the dotted line for that type of insurmountable money that can't be comprehended. You're wealthy enough to stop whatever's going on and say, "Oh, I might have to arrive late, but I gotta go to that. And I got to show up with them. My loyalty is to my brothers before anything, because that's who helped me get where I'm at right now." And when you start losing sight of that, now you're becoming too much of a diva, so to speak, almost. I respect his quotes after post games when they lose, the propheticness. But I don't like that. I don't know why Jordan's hanging with him like he's some type of amazing athlete and some he has not been nothing close to Jordan the last couple years. He seems to be more celebrity and more everything else. They barely had a touchdown. They had a couple touchdown. Dude pulls up with this big ass chain the size of a chandelier. Talking about, "Is that what y'all wanted?" No, you're not. You're no Kurt Warner. That wasn't no greatest show on turf performance. You guys are still underperforming. This is what got Russell Wilson ran out of Denver. Being more known for everything else besides what's going on the court, on the field. First of all, you are a beneficiary of a great defense, a generational running back, all-time diamond standard head coach. You walked into an amazing situation. I tell everything right now. You put Donovan McNabb in the Indianapolis Colts with Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, Dallas Clark, that offensive line. You guys are going to put up 80. Conversely, Ben Roethlisberger wouldn't be better than Daniel Jones if he didn't go to the Steelers. So for me, when I'm watching all this unfold, and I'm like, "Hey, brother, you're starting to stray away from the principles that made you great. Be careful. It's not looking good right now in Philly. I don't like what I'm seeing." Sarkisian, is gonna not Sarkisian. Sirianni's gonna have his hands full over there this season. Soon as the going gets, I guarantee you, at some point, them tabloids are gonna kick in and be like, "Yeah, there's been a rift since they are better off AJ Brown and him saying." Using it as a teachable moment and saying, "Yes, we were best friends growing up. Adult things happen, bills, life, obligations. We're not quite where we used to be, but we're going to still win championships and we respect each other's space and we're going to teach you how to coexist." Because that's what I fell in love with the Eagles, despite being a Lions fan, fiercely loyal. Is Sirianni up in Jalen Carter's face. Sirianni getting ready to fight the fans. AJ Brown and Justin Fields not on the same page, but they still get on the court, on the field together and do what they got to do. That's what made we need more of that in society. People who don't agree and still somehow they go out there and they go out there and settle their differences, and despite that, win for the greater good. That's what we need to see more of. I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't like what your views are, but I'm gonna still go out there. We can still, come together and for the greater good win this championship and go our own way. But they presented like they were best friends and they were and this was before each other and bond, and now all of a sudden it's like this rift, and every time we're just like, okay, that's weird. Okay, that's weird. Are you guys not cool anymore? He's on the sidelines reading a book. Is everything okay? How And no, it's just like, yo. The truth is, we not what we once used to be. Married couples sleep not two different things, but walk with me. You know, um, married couples get to a point sometimes one's got to sleep in the living room, the other one stays in the bedroom, or they get two different beds. That doesn't mean that they're divorced. It's just obviously, after we're only human, you get tired of the same thing all the time. You need some room, you need some space. You go through things on your own, but you find ways to form back. That's the key to quality marriages, and that's not just marriages, friendships, partners, business, everything. We got to get back to the old school way. Me and my friend back in the day, we don't get along some on this topic. We might even get to fisticuffs, but by the end of the day, we cool again. No real lines were crossed. We just disagree, vehemently on a one particular topic. Nobody's using nobody. Nobody's trying to sleep with each other's significant other or nothing violating on that level. Then what's really the problem? You ain't stealing from me. You ain't talking behind my back about privileged information. Then what seems to be the issue? Not a damn thing. Because I say I like the Cowboys, you say you like the Eagles. Okay, fuck you. My player bet. Oh, man, what you got? Okay, next to you throw hands. Okay, whatever, man. That shit's yesterday. Or fight over a video game because you think someone was cheating or something. Okay, cool. We cool back the next day. Maybe it would be better if they just went out and said something like that. But this Justin Fields thing is starting to get a little bit too celebrity, and he's got to know it's always been a musical chair. We've seen, that carousel over there, and Andy Reid went to Kansas City and got even more ginormous quarterback, who's now neck and neck with damn near Tom Brady. Almost. I don't think anyone will ever pass Tom Brady, even though he lost in that Super Bowl to the Giants, like I said earlier. But you know what I mean? There's always someone next. I'm just saying. I really hope he locks in this year, because the Eagles have enough to go back and do it again, despite they did lose some key pieces this offseason, but they had an amazing draft, had a great draft. They definitely were in the A range once again. But I'm just saying, if you're the Eagles, stay tuned. It might get your popcorn ready. Hope this was informative, Utopians. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.